नमस्ते बोजू बजाइमा स्वागत छ। मेरो नाम त्रिकुटी र तपाईँले जसरी देख्न सक्नुहुँदैछ म एकदमै इन्फ्लुएन्स भएको छु अहिलेको हाम्रो एकदम एकदम फेमस एकजना इन्टरनेट पर्सनालिटी र हाम्रो चुनावी माहौलमा एकदमै अग्रस्थानमा रहनु भएको एकजना सर्टेन बालेनजीबाट। सो द्याट्स वाइ आई हेभ दिस अन लाइक लास्ट टाइम। सो यो अनि आजको हाम्रो एपिसोडमा के म मात्रै सरी मलाई कस्तो इन्ट्रो भन्ने गाह्रो भयो इतिसा नभएर। तर आज म एक्लै छुइनँ, म एक्लै भतभताइरहेको छुइनँ। आज चाहिँ मसँग हुनुहुन्छ हाम्रो एकदमै घनिष्ठ मित्र, हाम्रो रिपोर्टर साथी स्ल्यास विदेशबाट फर्किएको नेपाली क्लबको सबैभन्दा नयाँ सदस्य स्ल्यास फर्मर डेटिङ एप युजर निकिता त्रिपाठी। ताली ताली ताली। र आज चाहिँ उहाँले हाम्रो 2021 मा उहाँले गर्नुभएको लभ सेक्स बट नो धोका एपिसोडको फलोअप लिएर आउनु भएको छ, जहाँ चाहिँ हामी अहिलेको चाहिँ 5 वर्षपछि चाहिँ एपिसोड आएको 5 वर्षपछि चाहिँ नेपालमा र संसारभरि नै अहिले चाहिँ यो अनलाइन डेटिङ एपको अवस्था कस्तो रहेको छ, ट्रेन्ड्सहरू के छन् र नेपाली महिलाले यी एपहरूमा आफ्नो स्थान कसरी जमाइरहेका छन् यी एपहरूमा, त्यसबारे हामी रमाइलो गफगाफ गर्नेछौँ। त्यसको लागि आज म के भन्ने मलाई थाहा छैन। अब म भिडियो अफ गरिदिन्छु किनभने मलाई लाज लाग्यो। ओके। हाई निकिता, बोजू बजाइमा स्वागत छ। हाउ आर यु डुइङ? काठमाडौँको एक्युआई तिमीलाई कतिको सुट भइरहेको छ तिम्रो युरोपियन हावापानीले बानी परेको तिम्रो शरीरलाई?
I'm good. What I will say though is that the kind of hardcore journalism I do, I was just leaving a very clandestine meeting with the Boju Bajai informant in the dangerous neighborhood of Balwatar when a street gang attacked me. But it was only a gang of street dogs.
How are you,
So
by
I
the
have
way,
to say this.
La?
No, I'm good, but I think this episode is also special because, I got bitten by a street dog while trying to report on this episode. So this is the kind of hardcore journalism that we do over here at Boju Bajai.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry and thank you for going through so much to bring this story to us, Nikita. हामी तपाईको त्यो ऱ्याबिसको के रे इन्जेक्सनको हामी तपाईलाई भरपाई दिन्छौँ होला, कृपया हामीलाई बिल पठाइदिनु होला है। See, we take care of our के भन्छ freelance reporters also. Just imagine if we had the money to hire you full time, the kind of facilities we would have given. So people who are listening and are please give us money. Patreon.com/bojubajai. Anyway, so Nikita, हामीले last time कुरा गर्दा, I think, and that was the last episode sort of you worked for us, was it 2021? Long time ago है, कोभिड को बेलामा हामी बन्दाबन्दीको क्रममा अनलाइन डेटिङ कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ इन्ट्रोडक्सनमा पनि भनेको थिएँ मैले होइन, त्यति बेला चाहिँ डेटिङ अनलाइन एप सिम्स लाइक दिस होल न्यू वर्ल्ड फर अ लट अफ यङ पिपल, स्पेसली नेपाली वुमेन। अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ तिमीले चाहिँ यु हेड मेड अ कम्पेरिजन बिट्विन हाउ लिटरेसी एन्ड love letter writing had that shaped this whole generation, भनौँ न, of Nepali women, especially what it meant for them to find companion, अनि उहाँहरूको आफ्नो पर्सनल लाइफको बारेमा। अनि त्यही हिसाबले चाहिँ यो अनलाइन डेटिङ एपले चाहिँ कसरी त्यसरी नै ट्रान्सफर्म गर्छ होला यङ नेपाली वुमेन लुकिङ फर कम्पेनियनसिप। सो हामीले त्यसको बारेमा हामीले कुरा गरेको थियौँ। वी वर लाइक भेरी होपफुल एन्ड लाइक थिङ्स हेभ चेन्ज एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। तर यो एपिसोडमा काम गर्दाखेरि what were some of the things that really stood out to you in terms of what had changed?
Yeah, I think त्यो last episode in 2021 गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ, like you said, we were very hopeful about dating apps at the time, also because we were just coming out of the pandemic. So there was this kind of sense of because I remember Itisha also talking about, this is kind of the first time in history for Nepali women where they kind of get to talk to multiple people and kind of pick from this a lot, I know, but also exercise some sort of autonomy when it comes to intimacy and courtship. So that was kind of, there was like a sense of euphoria in that sense. So I would say those were still the early years for dating app scene in Nepal, but since then I think there have been few like Nepali apps pani acha. This is something that I also found out, like there's apps, but also like specifically marriage life nai target garera pani. So there are like local sort of markets that are burgeoning. That are largely, I think, the growing consensus now seems to be that people on these apps are burnt out and fatigued. Because if you just quickly Google on the internet, I know, like internetमा खोज्यो भने पनि some of the things that regularly come up is like words like yeah, burnout and fatigue right next to online dating. And it seems that more and more people are leaving these apps, not just in Nepal, not just the people that we spoke to, but also that seems to be a global trend. I found an article, I think from 2025, that said that in 2024, UK the use of dating apps decreased by, I think, 16% or something. Ani Bumble also laid off their global staff. So yeah, and it seems that people are also vowing to not go back on these dating apps if they can help it.
सो तिमीले यो रिपोर्टिङको क्रममा चाहिँ कस्तो कस्तो खालके स्टोरिजहरू अथवा मान्छेहरू भेटायो जसले चाहिँ विच सर्ट अफ who were also experiencing the same things that you were reading. Let's say अब नेपालमा त्यस्तो रिसर्चहरू हुँदैन होइन मान्छेहरूको कन्ज्युमर एक्सपिरियन्स. सो नेपाली अब हाम्रो लिमिटेड हामीले जतिसँग कुरा गरौँ त्यसमा चाहिँ के कस्तो कुराहरू कोसँग कुरा भयो जसले चाहिँ ओके यो चाहिँ यस्तो खाले ट्रेन्ड चाहिँ यहाँ पनि देखिरहेछ भन्ने चाहिँ तिमीलाई त्यस्तो लाग्न थाल्यो?
Yeah, so I interviewed three people for this. Two women in their 30s, I know. One queer person in her 20s. So when I interviewed them, I think the things that sort of came up was that people who've been using dating apps for a while now, Pani, they are not using, they're not on these apps all the time. So they use them intermittently. So the two women that I spoke to, both in their 30s, talked about how when they were on dating apps, both of them are not on dating apps anymore. But when they were on dating apps, they were constantly installing and uninstalling them, right? Downloading and deleting their apps. So they would be on the apps for a little bit and then they would get out of it. I think we also touched on this in the previous episode. The way these dating apps work is obviously you have a big pool that you kind of swipe from. So what happens is when you have these matches, you are sometimes talking to multiple people at once. And what's happened now from the interviews that I did, women shared how boring and exhausting conversations are starting to become for them, because like, I mean, you will hear this a little bit later in the episode as well, what women themselves exactly said. Just a lot of like banal conversations about khana khayo आज अथवा के गर्यौ त हुन्छ नि, अथवा like सिधै they'll go to like तिमी कहाँ काम गर्छौ कुन अफिसमा, अनि so stuff like that. And I think the disappointment that women feel, at least the ones that I spoke to, is because they're on these apps to alleviate boredom and monotony. So they want to like spice up their life a little bit, have like some interesting conversation and hope that something will come out of it. But when they go on these apps, they're constantly engaging in the same conversations with different people. So त्यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि यो बर्नआउट र फटिग चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट पनि आइरहेको रहेछ भनेर चाहिँ मैले थाहा पाएँ. एन्ड देन कन्भर्सेसन्स एकदम स्लो हुन्छ, बोरिङ हुन्छ होइन, अनि eventually to fizzle out because there is a lack of effort that they feel from the other side, whoever they're matching and talking to. त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ yeah, it takes a toll on you, especially then if one conversation fizzles out, then you have to restart the whole thing from scratch with someone else, from with another match. So त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि पनि people seem to be tired on these apps.
अब हामीले यो सबै कुरा गर्यौँ होइन. अब फर्स्टको 2021 को एपिसोड वाज अल लाइक होपफुल. यो एपिसोड चाहिँ एकदम डुम एन्ड ग्लुम टाइपको भनेर हामीले यसरी नै सुरु गर्यौँ. तर हामी के भन्न चाहन्छौँ भने जाँदा जाँदै बिफोर यु हियर मोर अबाउट निकिताज एडभेन्चर्स about online dating through people that she met for this episode, is that one of the guests that she actually spoke to, one of the people that Nikita spoke to, एकजनाले चाहिँ आफ्नो जीवन साथी पनि भेटाएका थिए यही डेटिङ एपको होइन दलदलबाट भेटाइन् उनले। अनि उहाँ एकदम खुसी छिन्, तर उहाँले आफ्नो नाम चाहिँ भन्न चाहिनन्। अगेन इट कम्स ब्याक टु स्टिग्मा आई गेस, विच निकिता विल एक्सप्लोर मोर इन दिस अपकमिङ सेक्सन। सो त्यो सुन्नुहोला र स्वाइप गर्दै गर्नुहोला र हामीलाई भन्नुहोला तपाईँको अनुभवहरू कस्तो रहेका छन्। यति भन्दा भन्दै अब म हाम्रो माइक हस्तान्तरण गर्न चाहन्छु निकितालाई। धन्यवाद।
At the end of our 2021 episode, Love, Sex, but No Dhoka, Itisha said this.
मलाई पनि फेरि यङ हुनु मन लाग्यो, मलाई कस्तो डेटिङ एप्स जानु मन लाग्यो। हेर न म कहाँ छु, के भयो मेरो जीवन, के भयो मेरो जिन्दगी। मलाई पनि यस्तो सिभीले ह्यास्ते गरी मेरो प्रोफाइल बायोजहरू बनाउनु मन छ।
Itisha had a lot of FOMO after listening to that episode, but I wonder if she'd still feel the same way today, given growing consensus that dating apps are on the decline. 33-year-old Subeksha is one of the 4 people I interviewed for this episode.
From Tinder, from Bumble, I've met people, I've met very interesting people, and I've dated पनि for like 3-4 जना चाहिँ राम्रो मजाले डेट पनि गरेको छु।
And like the others, Subeksha hasn't been back on the apps in a while.
ठिकै छ, यो पालि पनि कोही भेटेर डेट गरि पो हालिन्छ कि लाइफ हेज बिकम अ बिट मोनोटोनस अनि बोरिङ भइरहेछ। सो लेट्स मेक इट अ बिट स्पाइसी, अलि रमाइलो टाइम पनि स्पेन्ड गरौँ, लेट्स मिट न्यू पिपल वाला हुन्छ होइन। अनि त्यो एक्सपिरियन्सले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ फेरि एकचोटि गरेर हेरौँ न त, के थाहा कोही इन्ट्रेस्टिङ मान्छे भेटि पो हाल्छ कि हुन्छ कि, तर हुँदैन रहेछ खासै धेरै अहिले।
In 2018, around 250 million people used a dating app worldwide. By 2024, an additional 100 million people had joined. These apps have grown popular in Kathmandu over the last few years, but the overall picture, globally, seems grim. Most of these dating apps are free to download and use, but around 25 million people pay for premium subscriptions and features, keeping the business afloat. Last year, Tinder, easily the most popular dating app of our time, lost 7% of its paying users globally and 3% of its revenue. They still made a lot of money though, $491 million. But I can't tell you how much that is in Nepali rupees. There are a lot of media reports from the US and the UK on Gen Zs and millennials leaving dating apps. One even claiming that, and I quote, millennials were the first to get on dating apps and the first to get off them. Interestingly, while these dating apps are losing their usual consumer base, there is another demographic that is rapidly taking its place. In 2024, people in their 50s and 60s in the US were the fastest growing demographic on many of these apps. According to Justin Garcia, a sex researcher at the Kinsey Institute in the US, more and more older people are starting to join dating apps because there is less stigma about online dating today. Garcia explains something called a reverse intergenerational transmission, by which young people are helping their single parents and grandparents acclimatize in this new world of online dating. But what I'm more interested in is this continued stigmatization of online dating or dating apps in the Nepali context. Here's Subeksha again.
आफ्नो साथीहरूले चाहिँ अरू चिनेको कसैले चाहिँ सो दिस पर्सन इज अन डेटिङ एप है, यो मान्छे तिमी पनि डेटिङ एपमा रहेछ भनेर, सो त्यो वाला कुराले पनि हाउ दे पर्सिभ यु इज सो डिफरेन्ट because that person is also on dating app, you are also on dating app, and what is the difference? I don't get it because I don't know, like I don't know, you're single and you are trying to meet people, but that comes of त्यो एकदमै कस्तो त्यो एकदमै खै कस्तो अर्कै तरिकाले पनि पहिला चाहिँ त्यसरी पनि पर्सिभ चाहिँ गर्थ्यो रहेछ।
We know that within the dominant culture in Nepal, dating takes place in secret, so our conservative family members and the community don't find out. So emerging adults already have to navigate a lot of social stigma around dating itself.
I don't have to tell you the kind of tricks you pull to make sure your family doesn't know what you're up to. For example, I once pretended to be a friend's mother and called another friend's mother to assure her that her daughter was really having a sleepover at my house. Please don't try this at home. The stigma around online dating or using dating apps then becomes an added burden because even before you can find someone to date and worry about being seen with them, you have to worry about who else might be on these apps when you log on. This is Janisha.
I think there's still this stigma, stigmatized, dating. I mean, especially dating apps.
Yeah.
Maguire ko sa labit, no? I mean, it is still. I don't think oily generation mas no. But मेरो generation like because like I'm already in my mid to late 30s, so obviously, I'm just I feel like I would be judged for that or something. And younger Mate, obviously, I think that's the only they could meet because everyone is on their phone right now. So
Janisha mentions that this new generation is less judgmental than her own. I think the attitude towards online dating is changing because Nepali society has been undergoing significant social transformation for a few decades, and societal attitude towards dating itself is changing. The literacy rate amongst women has doubled from 34.8% in 2001 to 69.4% in 2021. And despite persistent gender gaps, women now make up a significant portion of the workforce, especially in the service sectors of hospitality, healthcare, education, IT, etc., and financial institutions where nearly 45% of the employees are women. With increasing rates of higher education and employment and these dating apps at their disposal, women in urban Nepal are exercising agency in pursuing romantic and sexual relationships in ways not possible before. This, I think, is helping to normalize the online dating phenomenon. And of course, the free market has been ready and waiting to capitalize on this. Dating app companies are shifting their focus away from countries like the US and the UK, where everyone except the boomers are effectively burnt out. These apps are expanding to Asia and adapting to Asian cultural norms. In India, for example, matrimonial websites like Shadi.com and Jeevansathi that were once extremely popular are now struggling to stay relevant as young people in increasingly urbanizing and globalizing India turn to dating apps. A CEO of a US-based dating app says Asians are relatively more goal-oriented and seek long-term partners as opposed to casual hookups that many of these apps are known for. Our own Rikutis Nini has in the past called them Sutne apps. And apparently, compared to somewhere like Australia, where people pay more attention to photos, dating app users in Asia prefer more detailed profiles and tend to focus on other personal details, such as the person's education and job. This reminds me of how disappointed Janisha was when she joined a dating app in 2021 in her early 30s. It seemed as though dating apps hadn't quite taken off yet in Kathmandu, and surprisingly, some male users in particular didn't seem to understand what the app was for. Or maybe they just didn't care.
the weird thing was that in some of the one of these dating apps, like you could see um, men that uploaded like pictures of the family, like wife and kids. So I don't think Nepal चाहिँ त्यो dating app हो यो भनेर concept fully त्यो पनि भएको थिएन जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई. I mean, people just saw it as another social media जस्तो लाग्यो sometimes,
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think in Nepal, there's not a lot of thought that was put into it. I mean, thought in the sense that like you don't have to put out a really great bio or anything, but it was already overdone or एकदमै underdone. Like the profile error, no, you'd be like you wanted to leave that app.
Even as these globally popular apps scramble to expand their market outside the US, people here who have been using these apps for a while are already experiencing similar rates of dating burnout as reported elsewhere. Once again, Subiksha, the serial uninstaller of dating apps.
म्याचेस पाउनलाई खासै गाह्रो हुँदैन होइन सो त्यो म्याच के भन्छ राइट स्वाइप गर्नेहरू पनि टन्नै भइरहेको हुन्छ अब त्यो कन्भर्सेसन गर्दा गर्दै हुन्छ नि सो द्याट लाइक यस्तो लिस्ट अफ म्याच हुन्छ अनि त्यसपछि त्यो कुरा गर्न थालेपछि इट गेट सो 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 बोरिङ सो टायरिङ अनि त्यो कन्भर्सेसन यस्तो फिजल आउट हुन्छ अनि प्लस आई फिल लाइक नो अफेन्स बट यस अफेन्स बट मेबी अब त्यो टेक्स्ट गर्दाखेरि कसरी कुरा गर्ने भन्ने नै थाहा नहुने होला अनि it just gets very boring and I'm like के गरिरहेको छु म यहाँ किन छु म यहाँ like why am I talking to these 5 people and why are they asking me तिमीले खाना खायो भनेर I'm a grown up person obviously I'll eat अनि त्यो भएपछि मलाई दिक्क लाग्छ अनि त्यसपछि मैले फेरि अनइन्स्टल गरिदिन्छु
Our beloved Itisha had said this in our last episode.
It's quite amazing and revolutionary that women are openly like interacting with more than one potential partner or companion or whatever relationship they're pursuing, whatever nature of relationship they're pursuing.
तर अफसोस त्यतिखेर जुन कुरा हामीलाई टेक्नोलोजीले दिएको वरदान जस्तो लागेको थियो आज त्यही कुरा अभिशाप बन्न पुगेको छ It seems Nepali womenहरूले पश्चिमी सभ्यताको सिको गरेर they have become too independent and arrogant and are rejecting the quintessentially Nepali love language, that is to ask someone, "Aza khana khayo?" And when you tell them, "Oh, khaye," the love language intensifies with, ekle, ekle. Imagine you're on a dating app. Maybe it's Tinder, maybe it's Bumble, maybe it's Tang Tang, or maybe it's Tung Tung. You pick 4 of your best photos. You write a sincere, thoughtful bio with feedback from 2 of your closest friends. And by the way, you add, "I cut my hair a few days ago, so it's a little shorter than in the pictures." You think you meet someone cool, hot, kind, curious, whatever floats your boat. And then you begin to swipe, only to come across profiles with pictures of Cillian Murphy in Peaky Blinders, Aquaman, some random wrestler, Sisan Bania, Balin, and bios that read, "Here for a good time, not a long time." As horrendous as it is to have to sift through these profiles, there are other reasons, far more sinister, that are pushing people out of these apps. This is a 20-year-old queer person who stopped using dating apps last year.
So a lot of people that I matched with, right, it was obvious why they were talking to you. Like, they just wanted to meet and talk, right? And I've met a lot of people like that who are talking like that, who are coming from that place. Whereas I'm just wanting to have a conversation. And it's not like you don't meet people who cannot hold a conversation, but I feel like 3 out of 5 times the people will want sex. So yeah, it gets scary real quick.
So it gets scary real quick. Like what? Explain to me in what sense?
Because okay, so you are having a normal conversation, like, "Hi, hello, how's it going? Who are you?" Right? And then suddenly this person is like, "Show me what you're wearing right now." And suddenly this person is like, "Oh, I want you to come to me." And you sexting on me. त्यो त्यसैले पनि scary हुन्छ.
How did you navigate a situation like that?
I would report them and I would block them. Ani, I think this so मान्छेहरु चाहिँ looking into it पनि because I wouldn't give out my Instagram यतिकै. Like, you needed to talk to me for at least one day and be able to hold a conversation, right? अनि मेरो Instagram पनि म त्यही एपमा पनि राख्न मिल्छ त्यो पनि राख्दिनँ because so that people like that don't.
Casual sex, or what they call the hookup culture, is extremely normalized on these apps. Of course, women have to perform a balancing act of exercising this sexual agency while making sure we don't end up raped and murdered by the strangers we go on dates with. Douglas Sitko, a tech professor in the US, says that around 10% of all cases of sexual assault today involve dating apps. An investigative report that came out last year mentions a man in the US who for more than 3 years was using dating apps to meet women, drug them, and assault them. In September 2020, a woman had reported this man to Hinge after he assaulted her. And yet, when he was finally arrested in January 2023, when 2 other women had already reported him for rape, his profile was still showing on the app. All of the 15 women he drugged or raped met him on dating apps. Even though he was eventually caught and imprisoned, the report ultimately concludes that these dating apps do not prioritize the safety of their users and allow predators like him to continue their spree. And while we don't have documented cases of assault and violence among dating app users in Nepal, regardless for women, safety is always on their minds. Of course, a lot of the fear comes from reading or hearing about the kind of cases I just described.
At times चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि सो इफ आई गो टु बाथरुम अनि बाथरुम गएर आइसकेपछि यसले मेरो ड्रिङ्कमा केही त मिलाएन होला नि है वाला बिकज अब त्यो सबै के भन्छ क्राइम सिरिज यो त्यो यताउता सो मच अफ इन्फर्मेसन त्यो सबैले गर्दाखेरि पनि त्यो दिमागमा चाहिँ हुन्छ.
But much of the fear also comes from women's own past experiences. Subeksha again.
एकदमै अगाडि 20sतिरै हुँदाखेरि भर्खर अर्ली 20sमा हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ सो आई ह्याड अ इन्सिडेन्ट जहाँ चाहिँ आई मेट समवन अन डेटिङ एप सो वी वेन्ट फर कफी अनि त्यसपछि ठ्याक्क त्यो पार्किङ एरिया तलपट्टि जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ सो म ड्रप गरिदिन्छु भनेर सो द पर्सन अल्सो केम डाउन विथ मी अनि मेरो स्कुटर पनि त्यही थियो सो उसले मलाई ड्रप गर्नु पर्थेन अनि त्यसपछि एकै ठाउँमा भएर त्यो जाँदा जाँदै चाहिँ सो द्याट पर्सन ट्राई टु किस मी के अनि एकदमै त्यो अनफिल्टर्डवाला रेस्पोन्स चाहिँ मेरो हात गयो सो इट वाज नट लाइक अ स्ल्याप तर झ्याम्म लगाएर अनुहारमा लाग्यो अनि त्यसपछि म डराएँ त्यसपछि त्यो मान्छेले एकदिन एकदमै स्टन भएर बसिरहेको म छिटो गएर अनि त्यसपछि स्कुटर लिएर भागेको छु कि सो त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै पहिला भएको थियो अनि त्यही भएर अर्ली एक्सपिरियन्सेस त्यस्तो भएको भएर चाहिँ सो रिसेन्टली या इन बिट्विन चाहिँ त्यही आई ट्राई टु मिट पिपल जो चाहिँ अलिकति खुल्ला खुल्ला ठाउँहरूमा त्यसरी भेटिरहेको हुन्छु.
Dating apps are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Ensuring user safety means these companies have to hire trained investigators and invest in expensive and powerful moderation tools. But like every other company, their main priority is maximizing corporate growth and profit for their investors. So they cut costs by outsourcing jobs to overseas contractors who are undertrained and forced to work under extreme pressures of meeting quotas. And in the end, it is the users, women like you and me, who end up bearing the consequences. So if everyone is leaving the apps, where are they going? And how are they meeting people? Turns out the burnout has led people to touch grass, so to speak. And it seems Kathmandu has at least one dating event every month or so. I spoke with Samiksha Gurung, who runs an event management company called The Guest List that is behind some of these speed dating, intentional dating, dating mixers that I'm sure a lot of you have seen on Instagram by now.
Most of the participants, I think 80% of them have already tried dating apps, okay? And that is how they came to offline dating.
I asked her how she came to organizing dating events.
There is no place where you can meet new people, okay? New people plus after 25 plus it's either office ma manche bhetne ya or activity haru garnu chahda त्यही पनि you go with a group of friends.
In our 2021 episode, one of our listeners had shared how dating apps had introduced her to people outside of her social circle. I don't know if she's still as enthusiastic about dating apps as we all were back then, or maybe it worked out for her and she's been off the apps for a while, or she's attending these in-person dating events now. But for others, it seems the disappointment on the internet has carried over to real life.
Conversations जस्तो टेक्स्ट गर्दाखेरि पनि अनि तिम्रो तिमी कहाँ बस्छौ अनि तिम्रो जात चाहिँ के हो अनि त्यसपछि तिमी फ्यामिलीसँग बस्छौ कि बस्दैनौ फ्यामिली तिम्रो लागि कतिको प्रायोरिटी हो and all that. So conversations were similar. अनि त्यो बेलामा पनि ठ्याक्क मैले सोचेको थिएँ कि ओके सो च्याटमा जसरी कुरा हुन्छ त्यसरी नै कुरा हुन्छ बट दिस टाइम लाइक दिस कन्भर्सेसन हेज अ फेस भन्ने चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ त्योवाला चाहिँ फिल गरिरहेको थिएँ
अनि जस्ट टु पिक अप अन व्हाट यु सेड तिम्रो जात के हो भनेर पनि सोधिरा हुन्छ मान्छेहरूले द्याट्स समथिङ
सोध्दो रहेछ Yeah, they do. Because whenever I introduce myself, so I always say, मेरो नाम शुभेक्षा हो अनि सिद्धि त्यसपछि. So I just go by my name and त्यसपछि after a while they ask कि तिम्रो जात के हो अनि I'm in shock कि like मेरो जात किन जायो तिमीलाई what are you going to do with it के गर्छौ तिमी भनेर so त्यस्तै सेम कन्भर्सेसन आई ह्याड त्यो के भन्छ बम्बलमा त्यो लास्ट इयर होइन अनि त्यहीवाला फेरि त्यो के भन्छ अफलाइन डेटिङ गर्दाखेरि पनि सो आई सेड आइम शुभेक्षा त्यसपछि शुभेक्षा पछि आइम शुभेक्षा सो तपाईँको जात चाहिँ के हो तिमीलाई किन चाहियो मेरो जात भन्यो त्यसपछि अनि दे आर जस्ट उनीहरू चुप लाएर बस्छ अनि
What is most frustrating about this ordeal is that after overcoming a whole bunch of social stigma around dating and online dating, we have ended up burnt out. With each new match, each new conversation that begins with "Khana khayo? Kun office ho? Timro jat chai ke ho?" users seem to not just derive less satisfaction, but more frustration and fatigue. While people are deleting apps and choosing to go out into the world and meet people in real life, companies are bending over backwards to lure people back in. But AI and all that, that's something I don't know enough about, so I will leave that for someone else to take up.
I don't think I'm going to go back on dating apps. अब चाहिँ मैले चलाइसकेँ ROI एकदमै राम्रो निकालिसकेँ मैले डेटिङ एपको अब चाहिँ म एकदमै सन्त आत्मा भनेर बस्छु सो अर्ग्यानिकली कोही मान्छे भेट्यो भने भेटिहाल्यो बट भेटेन भने पनि इट्स नट अ बिग डिल सो अहिले चाहिँ अब त्यस्तो के भन्छ डेटिङ एपमा गएर नै आई वुड लाइक टु मिट समबडी भन्ने चाहिँ त्योवाला फेज चाहिँ अब सित्यो फाइनली सन्यास लिएँ मैले डेटिङ एपबाट अब चाहिँ
Yeah. I hope you meet someone or many people that are interesting, fun, cute. Yeah. And good luck to both of us.
You too. Float aggressively.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm going to do after.
सुन्नेलाई सुनको माला भन्नेलाई फुलको माला. Thank you, Nikita, and all the ladies for the participations in this very special episode and for sharing your stories with Boju Bajai. We'll probably get back to Nikita for Love, Sex, But No Dhoka Part 3 in a few years, or who knows, maybe in a few months' time, to see how the aggressive flirting advice worked or didn't. त्यति बेलासम्म बोजु बजे सुन्दै हाम्रो न्युज लेटर कोल्ड टेक्स bojubajai.substack.com मा पढ्दै गर्नुहोला एन्ड मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्टली सावधान रहे सतर्क रहे ऑन एंड ऑफ डेटिंग एप्स cause हम हैं राही प्यार के फिर मिलेंगे चलते चलते. Thank you so much for listening to Boju Bajai. अनि अर्को एपिसोडमा फेरि पनि भेटौँला. त्यतिन्जेलसम्मको लागि bye bye. खुदा हाफिज. I don't know why I'm so dramatic. Bye.